Trustee Black is, for the moment, absent. Hopefully she shows up. Let's stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jump back to the public comment and input. Any takers? Hearing none, let's continue. Agenda and minutes. We have once had a chance to review, so we'll be looking for a motion.
I move to consent the agenda and minutes from the meeting on January 13th.
We have a motion to consent the agenda and approve the minutes of January 13th. And there's a second?
I'm sorry, second.
Second by Barrios. Discussion. All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? You guys have it, so passed. All right, next we have a special guest. Richard Ware. We have County Executive Jonathan Delgrave present. We had, Chris and I gone to a meeting that the county had hosted about the RCICC, Intergovernmental Cooperation Coalition. I was going to have a spiel about what Jonathan hopes to accomplish with this, but it's better just hear it right from him. So with that, I'll pass it over to you.
Thanks. I'll be pretty quick. I'm sure you've got a lot better things to do than hear from me tonight. But again, I'm really honored to be here, and you just giving me a few minutes of your time. I really do appreciate it. The Intergovernmental Council is something that I think is important to, especially municipalities like yourselves, who, from a population standpoint, oftentimes may feel like their influence in terms of the community or county-wide is not as prevalent as maybe some of the other municipalities who have more population. And this gives Elmwood Park a chance to have a voice in not only your destiny, but what happens around you and what happens in your county, in this case, Racine County. As Ernie said, or as the president said, excuse me, is that we did meet on December 16th and to talk about this and try to get buy-in, and so far everybody has thought positively about this. And the end of the story is that, I'm hoping the ask tonight is that at some point before the end of March that you will pass a resolution to be part of this intergovernmental cooperation. And I'll start with the really cool thing about this is, before I get into exactly what this council does, is that it really, from a leadership standpoint, should not be guided by the county or the county executive. It should be guided by other municipal leaders. So in terms of officers, whether it's the chairman of the council, vice chairman, or secretary, that should be headed by, potentially your president or, other municipalities. So this isn't something that I think the county executive or the position of county executive should be necessarily leading. We'll staff it because it can be something that a part-time elected official, understanding their time limit, so the county would help staff, but that person or individual would be really kind of working with the chair of the Intergovernmental Council. So what is it? It's a representative from each municipality. We would meet, in this case, every other month, but the bylaws would be set by the council in May. We're hoping every municipality will approve this, and then when new boards are sworn in, that our first meeting will be in May. And we're still probably wondering, what did they do? I'll get to that. But so it's made up of the 17 municipalities in Racine County, plus my position in the county board chair. And really, it's a few things. It's informational topics. It's talking about, what do services look like? What does infrastructure look like? Who's guiding the infrastructure? Roads, and really anything that's important to the municipalities in Racine County. We have a lot of heavy lifts to do. I think we've made some heavy lifts in the last few years, but in terms of, particularly in terms of infrastructure and providing services, whether that's fire and EMT or police or sheriff or roads, we really need to collectively get together and start talking about how we can consolidate, whether it's the service or whether it's just the buying of the capital equipment. A lot of those things need to be placed. Also, parks and recreation will also be part of this. But it's also really, what do people want to talk about? The real value here is the informal communication, trying to look at issues through other people's lenses and trying to, again, at the end of the day, create success, and in many cases, heavy lifts that really we haven't done. In particular, in some respects, I look at fire and EMT. We don't have closest response in the county right now. In fact, 1 in 7 calls in eastern Racine County aren't done by closest response. So what does that mean? If you have obviously an incident at your home, potentially you're not getting the closest provider. And 99% of people don't really care who's answering the call as long as somebody's answering the call as quick as possible. So those are a few things that this Intergovernmental Cooperative Council would be looking to do. What I can tell you is that this is guided by a state statute. There's only 2 in the whole entire state, the county of Milwaukee and then actually Walworth County. So this would actually, it's a formal adoption. Again, it's guided by a state statute. And that kind of is the ask. I won't go into a lot of this. So it is a formal organization. The bylaws will be created by that initial board. Again, it gives Elmwood Park a real opportunity to have an equal voice in some of these major important issues. So our invitation again is for you guys to approve this, and I kind of looked through this, but each municipality would have 1 representation, like I said. We're looking at every other month, but Milwaukee County started it every other month, and they went to every month because of the things that they were trying to talk about and accomplish. Their county executive and the mayor of Milwaukee have never led this council. It's always been run by a representative of another municipality. So, and then the bottom line is what we really are, trying to bridge. Everybody says I-94 is the kind of the divides the county. I always argue that it's really Highway 31 that divides the county. And so if we can start looking at, again, issues that we can collaborate on, I think this is the venue to do it. The only other ask is, that every municipality takes this seriously in terms of attendance, in terms of participation, because it just doesn't work if this meeting is set and then something comes up and you bump it. We found in Milwaukee County when we were researching this and other councils across the country that what makes a successful one versus a non-successful one is just the dedication of either. And I'll be honest with you, are all meetings going to be fruitful or that informational to you? I hope so, but potentially there may not be one, and if that's the case, hopefully that doesn't dissuade anybody from their still wanting to be participating at a high level. So you guys can kind of walk through this. Some of this is pretty, I would say, it doesn't really gonna cost anything to be part of this. The new board could potentially say, hey, would every community kick in $100 or $200? And that money potentially would go to maybe potentially getting a speaker or maybe a mediator or something like that, if that would come to it. But it's essentially pretty, it's either going to be free or pretty much a low cost. It is, like I said, a publicly noticed meeting. Media would be potentially in attendance. I'm not sure if that would be the case or not, but there is an element of transparency here. The agenda is compiled by the chairman of the committee, so there is a lot of decision making there. So that's kind of the pitch. I wanted to kind of keep it low key and spread through this. So I'll take questions or comments if you have one, or two, or many.
If I could just jump onto the end of that, it sounds like there's a lot to this, when really, the name says a lot of the communication and coordination between the other municipalities. And I will say, at just this one meeting that we went to, there's been talk of this at the heads of government meeting, but the one specifically about the council, the other municipalities, this is something everyone's interested in, and it feels like it's fostering that sense of community between municipalities. There's a lot of good conversation that came up that day. There were representatives from the Milwaukee County Coalition that were there. They had very good things to say about theirs. Not every meeting was 100% positive, as the county executive has alluded to, but that's not a bad thing. That's discussion. So the biggest thing that was talked about, service sharing, common interest between the municipalities, efficiencies to be realized, and overall it was just a good discussion between the other municipalities. I do believe that there are things that can be improved upon through this type of coalition. So overall, I see it as a win for Elmwood Park to be involved in something like this and promote it.
The last thing I would say is that to the president's point is I really think that there can be a lot gained from just that informal communication and that network and those relationships. Milwaukee County, you think of the city of Milwaukee and maybe the county of Milwaukee because of the population of the city of Milwaukee, but they have a lot of conservative municipalities versus the progressive or liberal municipality of Milwaukee. And there are, what we learned is there are a lot of differences of opinion and spirited debate, but at the end of the day, they seem to, through this process, have really worked out a lot of differences from a local government perspective. We are pretty much made up of, 16 or 15 either, moderate to conservative municipalities, and then we have one municipality that's pretty progressive. But, ultimately, if we can come together, as your president said, and start working on some of these issues, like closest response, for example, this would be the vehicle to do it. So I guess the ask is, at some point, I think you've got the resolution already, and so place it on your agenda. I'd be happy to come back, or please email me. And always, don't feel like you can't reach out to me, or if you need me to attend, whether it's this issue or any other issue, I'd be happy to show up and whatever you need from the county's perspective.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you for stopping.
So, will you or Chris, or will you reach out and just say, hey, this is...
Yep.
Okay, cool. And then I'll reach out to you on the other issue. And, I promise that the 15 minutes you spend will be worth the time. And I'm just looking out for you guys a little bit there. because he can be a dog on a bone. So thank you so much.
Can't wait.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. You made it really easy for me. See you later.
Wait a second, can we get Lathrop Avenue redone?
What's that?
Can we get Lathrop redone?
Yeah.
Please?
So I'd ask, just following up on this, and I'd ask that everyone please review the 2 documents that were sent out. If you have any questions, concerns, get them over to Chris, we'll review them. So you have one item, which is our resolution, potential resolution, that is basically boilerplate for us, and then one would be the bylaws for the actual coalition. So the 2 items, take a look, see any concerns, send them over. All right.
Yep.
Any other questions on that?
You were fairly, you enjoyed the meeting, you thought it sounds really positive.
It's amazing to me how the other municipalities, I mean, we all have some notions about how we're perceived
Right,
through the
Correct.
county.
yep,
And I don't know what to say. I mean, it was great to see, especially from the larger municipalities, interest in issues that are affecting Elmwood Park and ways to coordinate things. And I was pleasantly surprised in the
Okay.
meeting.
that sounds very positive, from my perspective, so.
Agreed.
And then, of course, the smaller municipalities, we all huddled together and stared at the larger municipalities.
They did.
Yeah, you should.
How's that work?
So, all right then, we'll move on. Next item of business would be the sheriff's report.
Hello, everybody. You're stuck with me today. Deputy Kite, represent the Sheriff's Office. I have 2 pieces of paper here for you. Thank you, sir. How's everybody doing?
Yourself.
Good job. Thank you. Absolutely.
Thank you.
I know.
All right. So as you can see, this is for the month of January. We spent over 4.25 hours in the village with about 23 crime preventions. The last page of the papers you have is a detailed account of the crime preventions. Overall citations, there have been 10 for speeding, 2 operating without a license, 4 non-registration of the vehicle, 2 citations for no insurance, 1 for not having a license on a person, 2 operating while suspended, and 1 stop sign violation. We continue to have a big presence in the village. I know there's 2 cars here at the moment. Let's see, there's always going to be someone on the east side that helps take care of any issues that are within the village. Down at the bottom here, it says that with the 4.25 hours, the billable time for the village invoice is $253.13. Any questions about those little details?
All right.
That's my spiel.
All right.
Thank you.
Moving on to President's report. So we are working right now with the tenant of the south side, which I believe is the tenant for half the building 4, and they are interested in leasing the entire building. We had received an offer just before this meeting, so we weren't able to get it on the agenda. And it was below what we're authorized to move forward with. So we're going to counter. I don't know if we'll be able to get them up to the right value, so we might end up doing something that's similar to what happened with building 2, I think it was. So their lease is up next month. So unless we do a special meeting, which depends on where we end with negotiations. If it's drastic and we want to try and move forward, we might do that. If it's close, what we might do is come back after the fact, kind of like we did before for approval. So I just kind of want to eyeball if everyone's okay with that. The issue is, of course, right now they're using a little bit more of the building than what their lease really allows. And we either have to scale them back in what they're doing so that we can lease out the other half of it, which makes it a pain for everyone, or we get them the whole building and they got to come up a little bit with what their offer is currently. So that's really the big one for now.
And that's which building? Building 2?
Building 4.
Building 4.
Building 2 is Shelley right now.
Right.
I haven't been in there, but I know they're close because I got a call from the inspector about an occupancy request. So they're right there, so they'll be operating very soon.
I've seen lights up.
I noticed that.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I don't have one bad thing to say about snow plowing other than I shared some Chris's concern. He said to me the other day, he says, I am terrified for the invoice for the salting. We just got that. It's not as bad as what I thought it was going to be, but we're going to see if we can dial back the salting a little bit. But
Can I
otherwise,
ask a
it's been
question
great.
about that? How much salt, because we just had the roads paved, there's a large amount of salt still sitting on one of the roads, like a pile. And I just wonder, and I'm not a road guy, you are. And I didn't know, and Charles goes, don't be a Karen.
No, it's-
Because I said, I wonder if Ernie even knows that it's right in front of Kelly's house almost, on East Elmwood. And it's a large amount of salt. Brian, you might have seen it if you're walking.
Well,
It's
I
a lot.
put pepper on it.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's
Just
just
to
a
mix
lot.
it up a little
And Charles
bit,
is like,
yeah.
don't be ridiculous. I said, but because the roads are just redone, I don't know how much it ruins pavement like that.
Asphalt is not such a big deal.
Okay.
It's concrete, that's a big deal.
Okay.
You do not want to oversalt concrete.
So that was my
especially-
question, and I just wondered, and I wanted you to know.
Yeah.
And the lights are still out.
We're going to get into that when we get
Oh,
closer to
my
it.
thunder.
The lights, street lights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think Ernie's.
It's the same area, we think that there's a frost heave issue that might have cut the line. We know where it is. We did so much exploration last year, so we have a great understanding of how the distribution works to the light system.
Okay.
So we're gonna open it up again.
And I thought
Great that we
because of
did
the
last
cold,
year.
cold weather, it just, that's, you know.
That's, well, I think that's what it is. One of the
Yeah.
lines is really shallow, so we might have to open up a little bit more of the road by your house.
Yeah, so, okay, just thought,
That'll be coming up.
okay. And I really did have a question about the salt, so you answered the question, thank you.
Yeah, that actually happened on the drive here, there's a little ribbon of salt, so. But overall, they're doing a good job. I thought there'd be a lot more headaches and growing pains with it. Yeah. All right, moving on. Trustee Barrios. Trustee Black is absent. Trustee Gasser.
Nothing at the moment.
Trustee Hinkle.
Nothing new.
Trustee Johnson.
Nothing to report.
All right, Trustee Rude.
Just my regular monthly reconciliations, but at this point, nothing else.
All right. Administrator Jenkins.
You guys are going too fast.
Slow us down.
Oh, yeah, I will. So tax collection ended, so it ends end of January for the village. So you'll see on your profit and loss statement, up on tax revenue, that reflects the end of December collections. So we then process reconciliations with the county, and then the county gets back to us with how much we give to all the taxing jurisdictions. So you'll see an updated one at the next meeting that shows actually how much in tax revenue that we collected for ourselves. So that'll be coming up in the next month. You'll see in my report some explanations about the fees that I talked about last time. The good news is that we typically get specially assessed for fire and EMS services for the complex, $750 annually. That's going to get waived because we are part of the City of Trustees fire contract, so we appreciate that. I held the training right here in this room for all of our election workers. Everybody's trained up and ready to go. We got a primary election next Tuesday, so don't forget to vote. It's an exciting school board primary. And then after that, we'll have our general election in April. We'll talk about the bids for the the driveway stuff a little bit later. But I did want to share news. So there is a new law that either is getting passed or getting passed that the whole state's excited about. It's called the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. BIL is what it stands for. You might have already gotten emails about it yourself. I said it at a webinar today about it. So pretty much what this is whereas federal and state infrastructure dollars have been more picky about what they could be used for. So in the past, like when the villages tried to apply for some of these funds, we didn't meet the requirements because we don't have curbs, right? Or we're not having a sidewalk, or we're not a major arterial road, right? So all of those stipulations are going away, and this pool of money specifically for local roads, repaving, nothing, no other strings attached, anything. So the whole state, as you can imagine, is super excited, and everybody wants this pool of money. And I don't even know how much is up for grabs. But long story short, they sent out application materials. There's going to be 2 rounds of applications, one that's due by beginning of April, and then another one that's due at the end of summer. I told President Rossi, I don't want to be one of those last ones. I want to apply right away. And so I've already scheduled time with him to sit down. I'm going to go through that application and just submit it ASAP. Based on the information that I got at the webinar today, it can fund as low as, that's all they said, as low as 50% of the construction cost. So again, we'll take whatever we can get. And those funds need to be utilized, I said construction needs to happen in 2023. So the original thought was that we had 5 years to use the funds. Nope, they want, if they're going to grant you the funds, they want that to happen tomorrow.
Nice.
So again, if we are honored enough to get those funds, that would just push up our planned phase 2, most likely then, to get the ball rolling on those projects a little sooner than we thought. But
Excellent.
we'll update you as we get there. The only thing I was going to point out in the profit and loss statement, you can look at the building 3 revenues, and you'll see that Kendall's on fire so far. We got our gym rentals already surpassing our budget amount, and hall rentals are at about 25%. And that's actually without some of the larger contracted amounts that we are hoping to get pretty soon. So, good job, keep it up. That's it.
Excellent.
Can I ask a question about the rental?
Yep.
About the, somebody brought up on, like, commenting on this rental, that it would be really nice, and I don't know how this works in other places, but if they have to set up and they have to clean up, and they have, the cost of like the rental being just for setup is really, really high, and they wondered if they could have like less, it would cost less to set up. And I don't know how, I was actually talking to Ken about this. I don't know how that works, or if it's just, if it's the same in other places, like if you rented from any casinos and they had a setup fee, although they have their own kitchen. Does everybody understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yep. So we charge just a set hourly amount from when we open the doors to when we close the doors. And so that's up to the person who's renting, taking 30 minutes to set up, and they have 30 minutes. But the point is that we emphasize that, hey, just so you know.
It is the setup. I just wondered,
Yeah.
and I didn't know, and I did not answer their question. I just thought I'd bring it up. So,
We've had renters in the past that ask for 3 hours to set up.
oh yeah, no, I can't.
No, that gets really extreme.
Yeah, that's a little much. Okay, just wondered. Thank you.
All right, then. Moving on. Next item, old business, approval of Taylor Complex 2022 driveway reconstruction contract. So where we left off last meeting, we had some additional items that we were going to put on, and they became so much so that we needed to send this back out to the 2 apparent low bidders, which was Stark and Asphalt Contractors. I believe Stark was non-responsive in the request. They were the second bidder anyway. Asphalt Contractors did respond. Chris put together a nice sheet showing what the costs were. I don't know if everyone has a copy of the hard bid on it. It was listed as a concrete driveway. The driveway going down to the gym is going to be the asphalt driveway. And then the picture there shows it very nicely what the additional items were. So the last page of the packet, you can see in red, that's the additional asphalt going down to the gym. Green, they're going to be removing that slab with the footings under it, and they're going to do that for an extremely low price, basically because they've got so much other things, so much other work going on. So, and then the basketball court gets turned back into landscaped, or excuse me, just a grass area. So the additional cost of the items. Actually, Chris, you did the math, but you put all together.
Sure. So the low bid, asphalt paving was already the lowest bid in the original ask. So that was the 130,430. And again, that was with the alternate to clean, crack, fill, and seal the new portion driveway and blend it into where we just did a couple years ago. And then including the concrete removal, the landscaping, the installation of the 70 parking stops, and then the installation of the additional drive down to the gym. That's $26,860. So when you add that all together, the grand total is 157,290, and I'd recommend just add a 10% contingency so we have some wiggle room there, which brings it to 172,290. And we will be using the leftover road funds, 2021 road fund account for this purpose, which as last month's reconciliation still had about 270 in it. So you're still going to have $100,000.
Keep in mind, we won't be spending a little bit of that on repairs in the spring.
Yeah.
Are we still thinking about doing any landscaping out in the complex? We had talked about it last month as far as some of the settling of the actual children's asylum.
It-
Is that something that's still kind of?
That was discussed where if they do have spoils, when they do the work, which they should have some, that can be dished out in the lower areas.
Okay.
Hopefully it just becomes a situation. It seems to be where they're at right now.
Sorry.
But yeah, beyond that, there is no other landscaping. I think this is a good chunk of work to get done right now, so if they can, dish in some of the holes, that'd be great. If not, we might have to just do some little something on the side, I don't know.
And could we use the money from the leftover money from the complex, as far as the roads, could we use that for landscaping later on? Would that?
Well, what I'm worried about is that we do have to look at lighting still on this, so we're probably gonna come back again and talk about lighting another date. That's mostly my fault, I probably should have spent more time just getting the light lined up for this. So we have to add lighting to this, and then we do have repairs in the spring on the other road, or the main road project. So right now, I'm just starting to look at it like, let's back up a little bit, let's stay where we're at, and let's try and maintain, let's be under budget still with the original cost we were looking at for the whole road project, and getting all of this on top of that. And then plus I'm thinking we're gonna be doing the windows too, so we got a lot going on, and I'm looking at that right now, like, let's just see where we're gonna be at once we get all what we got planned done. Okay?
All good?
All right.
So we need a motion approving signing these contracts.
Again, remember that, so I make a motion to approve the, what's it called? The
Taylor Complex.
Taylor Complex construction, road construction.
In the amount
And the
of,
amount of, what was it,
172,290?
172,290 plus the extra of 10%.
Well, that's counting.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, so that's gonna get awarded to asphalt contractors from the leftover road.
okay. And all right. So we have a motion to approve the Taylor Complex road reconstruction, road project, we'll say, for $172,290 with asphalt contractors funded from the leftover funds of the major road construction project, reconstruction project.
Okay, I have just a real quick question.
Is there a second? And then we'll get the second. And then
I'll second.
Okay, second by, we'll get to Johnson. Discussion.
Okay, I had talked to Chris about what they're going to be doing, going down to the gym. Last time we talked about possibilities of where the water's going to go. Is it going to go right into the gym, that type of thing? Did asphalt contractors say anything about how they're recommending to have that constructed so the water doesn't, it goes off properly and not settle into the gym area?
They'll have a grade out.
Okay.
It looked like it could be done. I didn't bring a laser out or anything. But, I mean, before this gets started, we'll do a free job with them and we'll look at that concern specifically. That's really the only area where that concern exists. Everything else, we got the elevations to dish it out whichever way we want. There is one thing I was thinking about as we were doing this to preserve the paving areas a little bit. Maybe it's a good idea at this time to change the angled parking. The biggest wear issue we have right now is hard turns on asphalt. That's a lot of damage. So if we can get people to, here's the length of the road instead of going like this, having them go like this and then backing out, so that, yeah, that's just as minimal dirty
makes
as
sense.
possible.
That's a good point.
And then we get more room in the drive anyway, so,
Yeah, that makes perfect
That
sense.
makes sense.
yeah. So just my thoughts on it, but then again, we'll take a really good look at the elevations when we do the paving down to the gym area. That's the biggest concern of it all.
Okay.
Good.
And it's gonna go all the way through?
You will have a complete loop all the way through.
That's great.
Is it gonna be one way, if you,
Yeah, we're gonna paint on it, basically
Yeah.
one-way traffic,
Gotcha.
to keep everyone just going the same way.
yeah,
Great.
And essentially at that point, it's gonna be 2 lanes, so that, sometimes you have events where people are loading, unloading, work's being done. Island 2 is an example of that right
Yeah.
now. So it just works out better. Okay,
Excellent.
And they'll start this in the spring. They don't have a timeline right now, but, they'll start as soon as the weather gets warm again.
yeah, the next step, notify them, they can award the contract and schedule. Okay. So I'd like to do a roll call on this one. We can just go through.
Yes, or I?
Hinkle,
Rude, aye?
Rossi, aye.
Johnson, aye.
there is a,
All right, unanimously passed. Okay, moving on. New business. Set dates for the 2022 Open Book and Board of Review.
Okay, I got the schedule here, if we can pass those down. There's some tentative dates there. I guess the big thing is setting the board review, because it'll require 3 people. But tentatively looking at having the open book on April 25th from 6 PM to 8 PM. And then board review on May 9th, 6 PM to 8 PM, if that's okay. Oh, and then,
Which
new
is-
this year, we have to have 1 member of the board that has had the training, and now that's gonna be effective every year now. You're gonna have the training right before the board. It used to be every 2 years, so now they bumped it up to once every year, so.
Lucky you, Brian.
Thank you.
I put the web link there so you can see where the training is. And then also, the clerk should, send in the affidavit that somebody did have the training.
Yeah.
I guess if you don't do that, your board review wouldn't count. So then they could make you do it over. We don't want that to happen. Not that we have any appeals or anything.
So, the Open Book is the one where we're all present. I forget which one is which.
The whole book, I'm just there.
Okay.
And that's where, people can come in and look at the tax roll, basically. And usually, maybe I get 1 or 2 people. I think with the reassessment last year, I may have had a couple, 2 or 3 people come in, so it wasn't too bad.
For the board of review though, can we nail it on a Tuesday when I'm here? If the 10th works?
Pardon?
So for the board of review, could we nail it on a Tuesday?
Yeah, we can, what Tuesday were you looking at, like the 10th then?
We can just move it to the 10th, that's fine.
May 10th?
At the bare minimum, that'd be Brian, Ernie, and I. That works for you guys.
Yeah, but I don't know.
May 10th, from 6 to 8 PM?
Yep. Yeah, hopefully you get reelected.
As long as we got somebody with some training.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just go to here and do that for obviously ahead of time and. Cool.
All right, I think we're fine with doing that impromptu.
Yeah.
So those dates all will be there.
All right.
Okay. Any questions on assessments or anything? I was just gonna say, when I did the reassessment in 2020, for 2021, it was based on 2020 sales, and we came in at 101% on the reval. Well, now, the 2021 sales indicate a assessment, the sales ratio of 87%. So, because the market's just kind of out of whack right now. So we will be out of compliance next year. So I don't know if you want to consider doing a reassessment for 2023. It might be something to think about.
So would that be done yet this year for 2023, you're saying, or in 2020?
2023, yeah. We're just working on 2022 right now.
Yeah,
And that would be for 2023.
Okay.
So that would be for next year.
Yeah.
You don't want to let it get too far out of line, because then you got too big of increases. So, I mean, at 87%, you're probably, if you divide that 1 by 0.87, that's what your increase amount would be. So you're probably looking at about 17-18% right now. But if the market goes up, let's say, this year, in 2022, you could be looking at a 20-25% change. I don't anticipate it going up, but you just never know, because as long as there's a shortage of homes on the market, it's going to drive the prices up.
Yeah.
Even with the inflation and the higher interest rates, it's still supply and demand, basically. If there's no supply, then people get a high price. And the mortgage rates are still low, it's still about 3%, so we'll see.
What does it do to the assessed value if your kids are destroying the inside of your house?
Well, I can come over and take a look at it. Yeah, if it's bad, yeah, I mean, you got holes in the walls and it doesn't look too attractive, yeah, that does affect the market value. Yeah, I've seen a few where it gets kind of
I'm
rough.
gonna let them run wild then, maybe over for dinner.
Yeah.
Okay,
What if they still have Christmas lights that are on in February?
I like those.
It's all your neighbors.
Make me feel like this. All right, any questions?
You're funny.
All right, leave me alone. All right, we're good.
We're all set? Okay.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank
you. Okay, moving on then. Approval of accounts payable. Been pretty normal. Other than utility costs are wild. Yeah, everyone's seen that. I don't know if you can look at your water bills recently, let alone electricity. If there's any questions, we're looking for a motion.
Making a motion to approve the accounts payable?
We have a motion to approve accounts payable from the Gasser. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Johnson. Hinkle. Excuse me. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, so passed, and we're adjourned.